All right, hi, this is Bill DeWeese here from Palm Harbor, Florida with Long Strange Journey, and this is the Hitchhiker's Guide to a GPS map-based fishing plan with your chart plotter, and this is part 4. This is regarding the data files that we created in part 1 and putting them into your Lowrance this time. And I'll just say generally, the Lowrance is Navico, similar to Simrad and BNG, and I do not have a Simrad or BNG, but I think the framework for what we're going to do here is pretty much similar. I think their framework for file system management and such, I think from what I've seen, is very similar. So this might also apply to those products as well. So we are starting where we left off. We have our little directory, similar to what we did with Garmin in steps 2, part 2. And we've got our KML and our GPX. In this case, we're interested in the GPX file. But this is much simpler than Garmin. We don't need an application like Garmin Express or Garmin Homeport. This is very simple. All we need is this is a generic, this is not a brain, this is just a transfer disk and the adapter to get it to a SD card from my little netbook here. So what we want to do is I'm going to insert this, and I'm just putting it into my card. It's going to show up like a jump drive, and we're going to take the 2 files that we created and we're going to put them in onto that jump drive. When that jump drive loads and we bring that up, we're going to see, I just did a control copy, so we're just going to basically, I'll do this with the touchscreen because it conveys it a little better. We've got these 2 files. And so we're going to copy them, and then we're going to go down here to this. Now, this for Lowrance, this is a drive that it's a 32 gig drive. There are some limitations to the file size of a SIM card. I think 32 is well within what we do here for the Lowrance, but I think you could go bigger if you were going to buy an SD card. Again, when you're buying an SD card for something like a GPS system, always check with the manufacturer to make sure you're not buying something that is out of scope with what it can support. I formatted this with FAT32 format, and you can see here at the top I gave it the name of the partition name for this is, the volume name is Lowrance, because I use this as my transfer disk. You'll see here already I've got a bunch of GPX and KML files, and when I paste this in, it's going to complain about overwriting because we've already done this. We're going to replace them, and we're done. So now we're kind of done with this laptop. There's very little to do here. We're going to eject this. We've got our card. We're kind of done with the laptop because we don't need any applications to do this. It's very, very straightforward. And I'm not going to close that because I might need it and I don't want it to go to sleep. All right, so we've got our Lowrance unit. I've got a power system here so I can plug it up inside my house. If we go to the charting system, I'm right here looking at the Dunedin. This is the Dunedin area we're going to focus on. But if you look at this, or I should say, my current chart source is the Florida Marine Tracks. What we're going to do is we have created this file with the transfer. What we need now, this is just to get it to work with the PC. We've got our SD card with our tracks. So under the low in Lowrance, we can peel this up, similar to Garmin Echo Map. We've got a SIM card system here. This is how we transfer. Now, this one thing that's kind of interesting about this is the Lowrance unit. This particular unit is the Elite TI2. And it has networking. You can take it and put it on your wireless network, and you can interact with the internet to do software upgrades, and you can also interact with another device, so you share a transducer. And then you can also connect with your phone and tablet and use the app. I've done that. The app lets you do screen sharing, duplication, so you can not screen sharing, but screen copying of what's on this display, so you can drive the whole thing from your phone if you're up front in the bow of your boat and you don't have a second unit. What was a little odd to find is I got all this cool connectivity, but at the moment I don't see where I can send small GPX files directly to this Lowrance unit. Everything is still managed through a micro SD card. There's no technological reason, it's just a software thing. So small matter of programming. Hopefully that gets something that they add to the Lowrance in the future so we could do this over the wire, over the air. Anyway, what I have here is Florida Marine Tracks and their micro SD card. This is North Florida. So I'm going to quickly just change my map source to Navionics. So it unloads that. I don't think it matters, but I'm going to do that just because I'm being superstitious. I'm going to eject the Florida Marine Tracks SIM card, and I'm going to be like super duper careful about where we put this. This is North Florida. So now I've got my SIM card that we just loaded from the PC, and I'm going to put that in there, and it goes in upside down and away. And we put it in, we push it in until it clicks like any other slot load type. And we won't need to close that up. We're not worried about waterproofing. And so now you'll notice I got the CMAP, and I'm going to go to back to the home screen. I'm going to go to waypoints. And I'm going to, so this is the waypoints that we have in here, a bunch of different waypoints. I'm going to go to, down here at the bottom, I've got storage. So there's your storage system, I've got my main system, and I've got my memory card. So when I look at my memory card, I've got each of these. You'll notice, because this is just a generic transfer disk, I'm keeping all my KMLs, I'm keeping all my GPXs. You can touch your KML and you can copy it onto your system, but it doesn't import, so it doesn't get loaded into your system as a waypoint. So we're going to get out of here, and for the one that we're interested in, Dunedin Caladesi, we want the Dunedin Caladesi GPX file. I got it. Click on it, and now I can see. So you'll notice when I clicked on if I click on the Dunedin Caladesi KML, I can copy it around, I can rename it, I can do basic file system stuff. But when I click on a GPX file, I have an import option. This is what we want to do. This is why we have this system of creating it in KML. We create it and then import or convert that to GPX, so we have both. Some things, as you saw in part 3, where we're working with phone applications, they tend to prefer KML, but some do GPX. Your typical traditional GPS's navigation systems are going to use GPX. So we're going to import. Are you sure you want to import it? Yes. And we're done. Import complete. So we've done our full import of the package. This is now our map, should now be updated to have our information. Right, so this is looking at it again. This is looking at it with Navionics, and you've also got the base CMAPs. Not much better compared to like Florida Marine Tracks, but you've got some good information here, and you can already see that we've got our data. So what I'm going to do is, while I'm not using, I'm going to flip that up. I'm done with this now. The only purpose of this is literally like sticking a SIM card into a micro SD card into your PC. Now, another important thing to note is to make this faster, you don't necessarily need a laptop, depends upon your phone. I have a Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. It has a system tray style SIM card. So if you have the little pokey gadget, you can eject your SIM card tray, and the micro SD card lives in that tray right next to the SIM card. So you can move data on and off using your mobile phone and not require a laptop. I don't use a laptop much anymore, except to manage the Garmin, which I don't have to do now. So for what I'm doing now, you actually don't have to have the laptop, but I did it just because I had the data already there. So I'm going to grab my micro SD card, which is my Florida Marine Tracks product, insert that. That's going to load. It's going to offer, I can either switch it manually under more options, but when the Lowrance sees a mapping package, it says that you've inserted it, asks you, do you want to use it? Do you want to change a chart? Yes, we do. Okay, so there is Florida Marine Tracks. There is our data on top of the base map. So whatever base map you're using here, you've got the access to the data. So You can see here, just like before, we're going to have our launch pad over here by the jet ski launch area. Over here is where you rent the kayaks. This is out to Honeymoon Island. This is everything we've seen here, we've seen before in the other videos as well. And the main video, part 1, where we created it, there's Hurricane Pass. But you can see here that if you recall in video part 1, we created this route because it was the direct line between this intracoastal channel heading out to Hurricane Pass and the channel that is the maintained channel inside of the Dunedin or the Caladesi Island State Park Marina. So we drew a line that looked like it was free from shoaling and free from grass flats, and lo and behold, our line is actually very close to the recommended path for that leg that you would take through Florida Marine Tracks's track system. So we didn't do too badly there. So this is where, even though there's no guarantee that you're going to be having on a safe path, by using that, you can see that you get yourself pretty close. Okay, so we go down to the no motor zone here, and we see our first one, transition to deep, grass flanked cut. Again, we have a rich namespace here, so we can go crazy with our namespace, grass flank cut. I can go even further, so we don't have the limitations that the Garmin showed. And then, so we have transition to deep, a good place for trout, grass mang, red snook, uneven grass. And down here is RD oyster that we added. We'll put a tab there so we can zoom in on that. So there's RD oyster, and we can start to see the definition of where we put that. We've got entrance to share a route that we added, so we can actually navigate to that. So go to cursor, or you can pick that and we can go to that, and we can actually set up a navigation. It won't work now because I don't have any GPS satellites. I'm downstairs in my office. And so we've got, notice once again, we added this green route, the route to share, right? And we looked at what Google Earth would appear to have been a fairly navigatable system, right? What we notice here is we got some really shallow areas, like so 0.3 mean low water, 1 foot mean low water. But our route is actually fairly close to Florida Marine Tracks. So while Florida Marine Tracks is giving you routes that you have never run, and that's the value of it, the route that we did create isn't all that bad, right? It's going to actually be something that you can use to avoid shoaling and grass flats and damage to the seafloor and the grass and damage to your boat. So we did good with that. So we came right up into sheer bayou. So you can see that how if you don't have something that's going to be giving you these safe path routes, you can at least include in your fish plan a safe enough route, or the best possible route if you want to try to explore that. So now we have everything we need in here, and we can execute our fishing plan. So this is for the Lowrance. This is, I think, again, these are Navico products. From my observation, there's a lot of convergence between the 3 Navico brands, sub-brands, Lowrance, Simrad, and B&G. So I'm assuming they're similar, but it works like what we would expect. We're going to import the GPS data, GPX data, and we're going to have our plans. You can take any one of these, by the way, like estuary pond, right? We can edit it, and then we can, I think you can go in here and modify what you have as so you can make that a fishy icon, right? So you can do other things here that we're not going to get. See, I got a little fish icon. So you could add a fish. I like to actually add, there's another icon in here that I like that is actually good to differentiate the boat ramp, right? So there's actually a boat on a ramp, so you could put a boat ramp in there. I do that because, again, I like to have the boat ramp. The boat ramps are typically points of interest in your mapping database. But I also like to enter my boat ramp that I would be using because it's in my cluster, it's easy to find, I know the name, and I can quickly find it in the context of my fishing for that particular day. So this is how you do the implementation of your map plan in the Lowrance unit. And I hope this helps. Thank you very much.